After the Great Revolt of 1857, a deep silence fell over India. The East India Company was gone, but something far more powerful took its place: the British Crown. From this moment on, India wasn't ruled by merchants, but by the Queen of England became the Empress of India, and her flag, the Union Jack, flew over every fort, palace, and field. They called it the British Raj. For the British, it was an era of order and progress. For Indians, it was an era of obedience and loss. The British built railways, roads, and schools, claiming they were modernizing the land. But every track they laid, every law they passed, was designed to enrich their empire, not India. Indian farmers starved while their cotton and grain were shipped to factories in London. Indian artisans, once the pride of the world, lost their livelihoods as British factories flooded the market with cheap, machine-made goods. Devastating famines claimed millions of lives, yet the empire only grew richer. India was no longer the jewel in its own crown, it had become the jewel in someone else's. But even in the deepest silence, the fire of freedom still glowed. A new generation of educated Indians was emerging. They were men and women who could speak English, but thought in the language of liberty. They had read the West's own books on democracy and justice, and they began to ask a simple, powerful question. Why not here? Why not for us? In 1885, this question brought 72 Indian leaders together in Bombay. They founded the Indian National Congress. In its early days, it wasn't a revolutionary force. It was a voice polite, reasoned, and filled with hope. Leaders like Dadabhai, Narogi, Surendranath, Banerjee, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale believed in dialogue, not destruction. They sent petitions, they wrote letters, and they appealed to the British sense of justice. But London wasn't listening. The empire had no room for equality, only authority. As the years passed, frustration grew, and with it, a new spirit was born, impatient, fearless, and young. From the fires of the Swadeshi movement rose a new generation of freedom fighters, the revolutionaries. In secret rooms, in the quiet of the night, young men took solemn oaths. They pledged to fight for freedom or die trying. And many did. Khudiram Bose, just 18 years old, faced the gallows with a smile. Chandrasekhar Azad swore he would never be taken alive, and he kept his word. Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, and Sukhdev walked to the noose, their voices ringing out with the slogan, Inqilabi Zindabaji, long live the revolution. Their extraordinary courage gave India back something it had lost, its pride. And then a new kind of leader emerged. He carried no weapons, only an unshakable conviction. His name was Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. A simple lawyer from Gujarat, he had fought racial injustice in South Africa and returned home with an idea that would change the world. Satyagraha, the power of truth. Gandhi believed that violence only creates more chains, but truth from nonviolent resistance could set a nation free. He walked among farmers, weavers, and students, speaking not of hate, but of hope. He urged Indians to make their own salt, weave their own cloth, and rely on their own inner strength. But the path of peace was met with brutal violence. In 1919, in the city of Amritsar, thousands gathered for a peaceful protest at a park called Jallianwala Bagh. They were unarmed and unafraid. Without any warning, British soldiers, under the command of General Dr. blocked the only exit and opened fire on the crowd. When he reached the shore and picked up a handful of salt, breaking the unjust salt law, he wasn't just breaking a law, he was breaking the empiracy grip of fear. Millions of Indians followed his lead, making their own salt, defying the British Raj. For the first time, a mighty empire trembled before a barefoot man in a simple loincloth. As the struggle intensified, new voices emerged with different ideas. The charismatic Subhas Chandra Bose believed that words and peaceful protest were no longer enough. When the Second World War began in 1939, Bose saw an opportunity. He executed a daring escape from British surveillance in India, traveling across continents to Germany and then Japan. There, he built the Indian National Army, or the Azad Hind Fauj, an army of patriots and ex-soldiers united by one dream: to see the Indian tricolor flying over Delhi's Red Fort. His voice thundered across the radio waves of Asia, inspiring millions with his powerful call: "Give me blood, and I will give you freedom." Back home, Gandhi continued his path of non-violent struggle. In 1942, as the war raged on, he launched his most powerful campaign yet. He gave a simple, electrifying call that shook the empire to its very core: "Quit India." The slogan was clear, direct, and non-negotiable. The British responded with mass arrests, brutal force, and strict censorship. But the people had crossed the point of no return. They filled the jails willingly, knowing that every beating they endured, every arrest they faced, every drop of blood they shed, brought India one step closer to freedom. By the end of the war, the world had changed. Britain, though victorious, was drained of its wealth and power. Its vast empire was crumbling as colonies across the globe demanded independence. The British finally understood a fundamental truth: India could no longer be ruled. It had to be released. Negotiations began, but they brought with them a profound heartbreak. The idea of partition, of dividing one land, one people, into two nations became a cruel and tragic reality. In 1947, the British announced their departure. India was free, but the joy of independence was mixed with the deep sorrow of partition. The Union Jack was lowered for the last time, and the Indian tricolor saffron, white, and green rose against the golden dawn. Our country was free, broken, bleeding, but undeniably free. This freedom was not a gift. It was earned. It was earned by the farmers who refused to pay unjust taxes. It was earned by the poets who wrote songs of liberty from behind prison bars. It was earned by the mothers who sent their sons to fight, knowing they might never return. Freedom was not written in ink, it was carved in sacrifice. And as the tricolor waved over the Red Fort for the very first time, one truth echoed across every corner of this ancient land: that a people's desire for freedom, once they awaken it, can never be silenced again. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more chapters from history.